Every rider has chased that perfect Japanese motorcycle, the one that promises reliability, performance, and pride of ownership. But some of those legends are financial traps waiting to happen. Today, we are exposing the 7 worst and 9 best Japanese bikes ever built, based on real ownership, real failures, and real costs. Because choosing wrong does not just waste money, it can turn your dream ride into regret. And the first warning sign came from a bold experiment that promised the future and delivered frustration. Let's start with a bike that opened the door to everything that went wrong next. Number 7, Honda CB250 G5. This motorcycle was meant to represent progress. In the early 1970s, Honda attempted to modernize its 250 class with ideas that sounded right at the time. A 6-speed gearbox, electric start, and a front disc brake. On paper, it looked like evolution. On the road, it exposed how shallow the execution really was. The 249 cubic centimeter air-cooled parallel twin produced roughly 27 horsepower, with performance that felt restrained even by period standards. But numbers were not the true problem. The chassis lacked composure, the suspension felt unsettled, and the braking delivered hesitation instead of confidence. The defining flaw lived inside the engine. Honda cast the camshaft bearing surfaces directly into the cylinder head. Once wear began, which it frequently did, repairs became costly and unavoidable. Premature top-end failure, aging electrics, and short service life followed. New, the CB250 G5, sold in the United States for roughly $1,200, positioned as affordable transportation. Today, surviving examples typically trade between $3,000 and $5,000 depending on condition, restoration quality, and originality. And if you have ever been burned by a future tech bike that turned into a financial mistake, hit like, drop a hype comment, and subscribe. Because that support keeps us exposing risky machines like this. The CB250 G5 was not dangerous. It was not bold. It simply faded away, underpowered, underdeveloped, and forgotten. And that restraint is the only reason it stops here. Because next we move from disappointment to betrayal when a single engineering error destroyed trust entirely. Number 6, the Yamaha TX750. When Yamaha released the TX750 in the early 1970s, the intention was bold. This was meant to be a refined, large displacement parallel, twin, smooth, comfortable, and technically advanced. Yamaha even introduced the so-called omni-phase balancer, a system engineered to cancel vibration more effectively than any twin before it. On the spec sheet, it sounded like a breakthrough. In the real world, it unraveled fast. That balancer system churned the engine oil into foam at higher engine speeds, starving critical bearings of proper lubrication. Crankshaft failures followed, main bearings wore prematurely, engines overheated and destroyed themselves long before owners expected. The very technology designed to elevate the TX750 became its undoing. Yamaha responded with wave after wave of revisions, deeper oil sumps, revised balancer tensioners, and added oil cooling. But trust had already evaporated. Later versions ran better, yet the stigma never faded. When new, the TX750 retailed in the United States for roughly $1,500, competitive money at the time. Today, clean surviving examples typically change hands between $4,000 and $8,000, largely as curiosities rather than coveted classics. This was not a styling miss or a marketing error. It was something far worse, a core mechanical failure that taught riders a painful lesson. Still, at its core, it was a conventional twin with a solvable flaw. The next machine did not just suffer from a design oversight, it gambled on an entirely different engine philosophy, a bold rotary experiment that promised the future, yet struggled to survive in the present. And that ambitious detour marks our next direction downward. Number 5, the Suzuki RE5. If ambition alone decided success, this motorcycle would be legendary. In the mid-1970s, Suzuki gambled everything on rotary power. The vision was seductive, fewer moving parts, glass-smooth operation, and a futuristic engine that would leave piston bikes behind. On the showroom floor, it looked like tomorrow had arrived early. On the road, reality intervened. The liquid-cooled single-rotor engine displaced just under 500 cubic centimeters and produced roughly 62 horsepower. Respectable until you felt the weight. Well over 600 pounds, ready to ride, the RE5 felt slow to respond and heavy on its feet. Fuel consumption hovered in the low 30s miles per gallon, arriving at exactly the wrong moment during America's fuel crisis. The deeper problem was ownership. The rotary demanded specialized knowledge. Most mechanics did not have. Carburation issues, sealing problems, and difficult servicing turned routine maintenance into an ordeal. Suzuki even resorted to engine exchange programs, an admission that confidence was slipping fast. The new RE5 sold in the United States for roughly $3,000, a premium over many established rivals. Today, surviving examples typically command between $10,000 and $15,000, prized more for historical boldness than everyday usability. At a premium price far above proven rivals, the value equation collapsed. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever owned a bike that looked legendary but disappointed in real life? Drop your experience in the comments, because your story could save another rider from making the same mistake. And complexity alone does not make a bike terrifying. Our next chapter shifts from over-engineered to uncontrollable, because what happens when power dramatically outpaces the frame meant to contain it? In the following machine, the flaw was not excess ambition, it was excess speed without stability. Number 4. The Kawasaki H2 Mach4. The legend came later. At launch, this motorcycle was a warning sign. When Kawasaki released the H2 Mach4 in the early 1970s, the mission was singular: win the acceleration war at any cost. The 748 cubic centimeter 2-stroke triple delivered roughly 74 horsepower, a shocking figure for its time. In a straight line, it was devastating. Everywhere else, it was compromised. That engine completely outpaced the rest of the machine. The steel frame flexed under load. Suspension tuning struggled to keep the tires planted. Grip was limited, feedback was vague, and stability evaporated the moment the power band hit. Contemporary road tests warned riders explicitly: sudden wheelies, high-speed wobble, and unpredictable behavior were part of the experience. The nickname Widowmaker was earned, not exaggerated. Stopping power offered little reassurance. Early models relied on minimal braking hardware, fighting weight transfer and speed. They were never designed to manage. Even compared to period rivals, balance was missing. Ownership brought more friction. Two-stroke oiling quirks, accelerated internal wear, and fuel consumption, hovering in the low 20s miles per gallon, made daily use punishing, especially during America's fuel crisis. When new, it sold for roughly $1,500. Today, pristine examples can exceed $20,000. Collectors chasing the mythology more than the ride itself. The H2 Mach4 proved a brutal truth. Raw power without control is not progress. But here's the twist. At least it delivered exactly what it promised. Raw speed. The next machine on our list committed a different sin. It promised something extreme and then softened the blow, detuned, overweight, overhyped, and that gap between expectation and reality pulls us one step ahead toward a different kind of failure. Number 3, Suzuki B-King. The B-King is what happens when engineering muscle overpowers common sense. When Suzuki released it for the 2008 model year, expectations were enormous. The earlier concept promised a radical street fighter. What buyers received was a 570-pound naked bike built around a 1,340 cubic centimeter inline-4 from the Suzuki Hayabusa, producing roughly 181 horsepower. The drivetrain was solid. Reliability was not the weakness. The problem was proportion and purpose. The chassis felt oversized. The styling was bulky and divisive. The wide tank and massive exhaust gave it the presence of a power cruiser rather than a precise backroad machine. At $13,599 in the United States, it competed with sharper, lighter superbikes. Be honest, did you ever buy a dream bike that looked amazing on paper but turned into more work than expected? Share it in the comments, because real ownership stories matter more than advertisements. In a straight line, B-King was explosive. In real-world riding, it felt excessive. Most owners rarely used even half its capability. Sales never matched the hype. Depreciation came fast. The B-King was not broken. It misread the market, but it was still manageable, still rideable. The next machine removes that safety net entirely. Because what happens when a motorcycle delivers power so violently that only a fraction of riders can use it properly? Not disappointing, intimidating, not flawed in theory, overwhelming in practice. And that takes us further down this countdown toward a machine that tested the limits of control itself. Number 2, Kawasaki KX500. The KX500 is remembered with fear and admiration, but fear is not the same as refinement. When Kawasaki unleashed this 499 cubic centimeter liquid, cooled two-stroke single, it produced well over 60 horsepower, an outrageous figure for a motocross machine. On paper, it looked unstoppable. On dirt, it was a handful. The power band hit like a hammer. Throttle mistakes were punished instantly. The front wheel climbed without warning. Traction disappeared in a blink. While the rest of the industry moved towards smoother delivery and better chassis balance, the KX500 stayed raw and unforgiving. Yes, the engine cases were durable, but ownership demanded frequent top-end rebuilds, constant clutch attention, and tolerance for heavy vibration. It exhausted average riders long before the checkered flag. Around an actual track, lighter 250 cubic centimeter bikes were often faster because they were manageable. Originally priced around $5,000, it cost the same as machines most riders could actually race. Today, collectors celebrate it. Most riders, they respect it from a distance. Because the next and final step in this chapter is not just terrifying, it is something far more controversial. Number 1. Honda NR750. Placing the NR750 at number 1 will shock some people. Good, because no motorcycle better illustrates the gap between ambition and outcome. When Honda released it in 1992, this was not transportation. It was a technological manifesto. Oval pistons, 8 valves per cylinder, titanium connecting rods, fuel injection, carbon fiber bodywork, a single-side swing arm. It looked like the future. It was also breathtakingly complicated. The 750 cubic centimeter V4 effectively behaved like a V8, yet produced only about 125 horsepower. At the same time, machines like the Yamaha FZR 750 and Ducati 916 delivered comparable performance for a fraction of the price, and that price, $50,000 in 1992. For experienced riders focused on real-world value, that math never worked. Fewer than 300 were built. It never reshaped engine design. It never dominated racing. Today, it sits in climate-controlled collections, trading for astonishing sums. But museum value is not riding value. The NR750 proved Honda could build anything. It just forgot to ask whether anyone needed it. But as extraordinary as the NR750 was, it proved something uncomfortable. Engineering brilliance alone does not guarantee greatness. Oval pistons, aerospace tolerances, obsessive craftsmanship. Yet for most riders, it remained untouchable. Admired from a distance, experienced by almost no one. And with that, our countdown closes the chapter on the 7 worst. Machines that, in one way or another, missed the mark of all time. Some failed through imbalance, others through overreach, and one through exclusivity so extreme it limited its own legacy. But this is exactly where the story shifts. Because the next chapter of this countdown is not about miscalculation, it is about impact. Not about what almost worked, but about what moved the world. From here forward, every machine earns its place through influence, durability, performance, or cultural power. The rest of this list is not about compromise. It is about motorcycles that define generations. And the next answer to greatest of all time does not live behind velvet ropes or auction houses. It lives on city streets, rural roads, and continents across the globe. It did not belong to collectors, it belonged to everyone. Number 9, Honda Super Cub. When riders debate the greatest Japanese motorcycles ever built, they usually picture high-revving engines and racetrack trophies. They forget the machine that put half the planet on 2 wheels. The Super Cub did not dominate circuits, it dominated daily life. Introduced in 1958, it was engineered to remove intimidation from motorcycling. The step-through frame welcomed riders in work boots or office shoes. The protective leg shield kept clothes clean. The semi-automatic gearbox meant no clutch lever to master in traffic. Twist the throttle and move forward. Simple, reliable, repeatable. Its horizontal 4-stroke, single-cylinder engine became legendary for longevity. It delivered remarkable fuel economy and started faithfully in heat, rain, or cold mornings before work. Then came the number that defines it. More than 100 million units produced worldwide. No superbike touches that figure. Today, a brand new one, 125 cubic centimeter Super Cub, typically sells in the United States for roughly $4,000. Clean used examples often trade between $2,500 and $5,000, with early classics climbing higher among collectors. It remains affordable transportation with a reputation built over decades. But accessibility is not the only path to greatness. Some riders do not want quiet revolution, they want racetrack adrenaline. And that brings us to the next chapter. Because the following machine did not just move the masses, it moved the performance ceiling. Lightweight, aluminum framed, race bred, a completely different definition of best. Number 8. Suzuki GSXR 750. If the Super Cub mobilized the planet, this machine electrified it. When Suzuki released the GSXR 750 in 1985, it did not politely enter the sport bike class, it stormed it. This was the first true race replica you could finance, insure, and ride home. Aluminum twin spar frame, aggressive geometry, oil-cooled inline 4 that loved to live near redline. It felt like something smuggled off a starting grid. At a time when competitors were still pushing heavier steel frames, Suzuki delivered a middleweight that weighed under 400 pounds dry and cleared 100 horsepower. The result, sharper turn-in, harder drives off corners, and feedback that made experienced riders grin inside their helmets. Over the decades, output climbed well past 130 horsepower while maintaining that balanced, usable character. It became the thinking rider's superbike, quick enough to embarrass leader machines, forgiving enough to ride all day. A brand new model in the United States now lists at roughly $13,000. Clean used examples typically trade between $6,000 and $10,000, with early icons climbing higher. The GSXR 750 proved lightweight engineering wins. Now I want to hear from the riders who have lived with it. Did the 750 hit that perfect balance for you, or did you eventually step up to a leader bike? Drop your experience below. Real-world insight separates legends from nostalgia. And if you appreciate deep dives into motorcycles that truly shaped history, make sure you like this video and subscribe, because the machines coming next change the industry in even bigger ways. Number 7. Kawasaki Z1. Before this machine, European brands set the pace. After it, everyone else was trying to catch up. When Kawasaki released the Z1 in 1972, it was not simply launching a new model, it was making a statement. This was the motorcycle that told the world Japan could build something faster, stronger, and more dependable than anything coming out of Britain or Italy. At its heart sat a 903 cubic centimeter dual overhead, cam inline 4 producing roughly 82 horsepower. That number may not sound outrageous today, but in the early 1970s, it was staggering. Top speed hovered near 130 miles per hour, verified, not brochure fantasy. And unlike many large machines of the era, it did not shake itself apart getting there. The Z1 combined smooth high revving power with real durability, strong crankcases, solid oiling, engineering that could survive highway abuse and weekend drag strip runs without constant wrenching. For American riders who actually use their motorcycles, commuting, touring, pushing them hard, that reliability mattered more than bragging rights. Then there was the price. At just under $2,000 when new, it delivered world-class speed at a figure ordinary riders could realistically reach. That combination of performance and value forced the entire industry to rethink what a superbike should cost. But the deeper impact goes beyond numbers. The Z1 established the four-cylinder superbike formula that still defines performance motorcycles today. Without it, the horsepower wars of the late 1970s and 80s look very different. It proved that dominance could be engineered, not inherited, but greatness does not stop at raw output. It evolves through refinement. The next direction in our countdown moves from breakthrough power to engineering redemption. Because after early V4 failures damaged confidence, one machine stepped forward to restore trust with mechanical precision and long-term durability. And that restoration marks the following chapter. Number 6, Honda VFR 750F. The Honda VFR 750F built its legacy the quiet way through discipline, refinement, and engineering integrity. When it arrived in the late 1980s, Honda had something to prove. Earlier, V4 experiments had bruised the brand reputation. The VFR was redemption. At its core sat a 748 cubic centimeter V4 producing roughly 100 horsepower, but the real story was hidden deeper inside. Gear-driven camshafts, no cam chain stretch, no sloppy timing over the years, just mechanical precision that stayed exact mile after mile. On the road, it delivered a rare blend. It could run with contemporary sport bikes, yet it offered composure, stability, and long-distance comfort they often lacked. Smooth throttle response, predictable chassis feedback, rock-solid high-speed manners on American highways. Owners routinely push these machines past 100,000 miles with basic maintenance. That kind of durability reshaped expectations for performance motorcycles. The VFR did not chase glory, it engineered trust. But it was not radical, it did not shock the industry overnight. The next machine did exactly that. Shorter, lighter, more powerful than logic suggested possible. When it arrived, competitors had to redesign their future plans, and that next leap forward changed the litter bike class forever. Number 5. Yamaha YZF R1. When Yamaha unleashed the R1 in 1998, the industry froze. Not because of a bigger engine, but because of a smarter one. Yamaha stacked the gearbox vertically, shortening the engine and pulling the wheelbase in tight. That single move flipped litter bike geometry on its head. Suddenly, a 1,000 cubic centimeter machine turned with the urgency of a 600 while delivering roughly 150 horsepower. The result was shocking acceleration, razor-sharp steering, and a power-to-weight figure no rival could touch. Every manufacturer scrambled. Redesigns followed. The arms race had begun. Over time, the R1 kept pushing, ride-by-wire throttles, traction, slide, and launch control. Cross-plane crank technology lifted straight from MotoGP. Each generation dragged production bikes closer to race machinery without destroying street usability. At launch, pricing landed around $11,000. Today, a brand new R1 lists near $18,400 in the US. Early 2000s examples trade between $5,000 and $8,000, while newer low-mile bikes still command well over $15,000. That kind of value retention does not happen by accident. Built by Yamaha Motor Company, the R1 did not polish the category. It rewrote the rules of handling and compact design. It proved that intelligence in packaging could outperform brute force. But for some riders, excellence is not about corner speed. It is about absolute velocity. So the next answer in our countdown shifts from agility to dominance in a straight line. The following machine did not just chase top speed, it forced governments and manufacturers into agreements. And that kind of impact pushes us further ahead toward the ultimate definition of best. Number 4. Suzuki Hayabusa. When Suzuki released the Hayabusa in 1999, the mission was brutally clear: build the fastest production motorcycle on Earth. No qualifiers, no excuses. Suzuki succeeded so decisively that manufacturers and regulators rushed into a voluntary speed truce almost immediately. That reaction alone explains its gravity. The Hayabusa paired a wind tunnel-shaped body with a massive inline-4, producing roughly 173 horsepower in early trim. Stock machines stormed past 190 miles per hour with eerie composure. Stability mattered as much as speed, long wheelbase, aerodynamic calm, and power delivered without chaos. But here is where the legend deepens. This was not a fragile missile, it was usable. Plush compared to razor-sharp superbikes. Smooth torque everywhere. Riders crossed states in comfort, then rewrote speed records before dinner. That blend created an entirely new class, the hyperbike. Reliability sealed its fate. These engines became famous for surviving enormous mileage and absurd power increases. Turbo builds, drag racing, six-figure odometers. The margin was engineered in. Originally priced to undercut rivals, the value equation was devastating. Today, new models hover near $18,800, while early machines still command strong money decades later. Built by Suzuki Motor Corporation, the Hayabusa did not just dominate numbers. It forced the industry to ask a dangerous question. But here is the next question. Is best of all time measured only in miles per hour? Because speed alone limits where you can go. The next machine expands the map entirely, not confined to highways, not restricted to smooth asphalt. It was built for deserts, mountains, and continents. And that following step forward forces us to rethink what greatness really covers. Number 3, Honda Africa Twin. At this point, the story pulls away from raw velocity and moves towards something far harder to perfect: dependability anywhere on Earth. The Africa Twin is not famous for lap records or top speed bragging rights. It is celebrated because it works, no matter where the road or the road's absence takes you. Its roots trace back to Honda's Dakar rally machines of the late 1980s, and that survival-first mindset never faded. Modern Africa Twins rely on a parallel twin engine with a 270-degree crank, delivering tractable torque and predictable traction instead of frantic horsepower. Long travel suspension, balanced weight distribution, and a chassis built to absorb punishment. Make it feel composed on broken pavement, dirt trails, and endless highway miles. Add Honda's optional dual-clutch transmission, and it becomes one of the most approachable long-distance adventure machines ever built. Reliability is the cornerstone. Engines are understressed. Cooling systems are robust. Electronics have proven resilient in heat, dust, and rain. Riders regularly log massive mileage with little more than routine service. the kind of trust that matters when help is hundreds of miles away. Priced to undercut many European rivals while delivering equal capability, the Africa Twin reshaped expectations for adventure bikes. It defined what real-world greatness looks like, but the next chapter in our countdown returns to a different battlefield. Because while adventure bikes test endurance, super bikes test supremacy. The following machine did not just compete, it collected world championships. It represents precision, sharpened by racing, and that competitive edge pushes us one step ahead toward the ultimate crown. Number 2, Kawasaki Ninja ZX-10R. The Kawasaki Ninja ZX-10R was engineered with one ruthless objective: win races. A high revving inline 4, pushing roughly 200 horsepower with ram air, an ultra stiff aluminum chassis, and a MotoGP-inspired electronic suite made lap time the only priority. Comfort was never part of the brief, and the proof is undeniable. This platform became the backbone of Kawasaki's domination in the World Superbike Championship, earning multiple consecutive titles under Jonathan Rea. That kind of sustained success comes only from a machine that works. Surprisingly, reliability has held strong for such an extreme build. Engines tolerate heavy track abuse, gearboxes are stout, and the electronics proved ahead of their time. Pricing tells the final story. New models list around $17,400 US, while used examples range from roughly $5,000 to $16,000 depending on year and condition. Do you like this kind of breakdown? Not hype, not nostalgia, but real engineering impact. If you do, click that like button. And if you want to support this channel and get early access to our upcoming deep dives, consider becoming a member. That support is what allows us to research these machines properly instead of rushing surface-level lists. And here's the tension. 10R stands on foundations laid long before traction control and IMS. To understand the true best of all time, we must move to the machine that changed the blueprint itself. The next and final answer didn't just win races, it redefined how a superbike should be built. Lighter, sharper, more compact than anyone believed possible. And that final step is not evolution, it's revolution. Number 1. Honda CBR 900RR Fireblade. The Honda CBR 900RR Fireblade was born inside Honda under legendary engineer Tadao Baba, guided by a radical idea for its time: total control. Instead of chasing displacement, Honda chased weight reduction, compact packaging, and balance. When the Fireblade debuted in 1992, expectations pointed to a heavy brute. What riders got was a shockwave, a bike weighing barely more than contemporary 600s, yet producing nearly 120 horsepower. That single decision rewrote superbike design. Relative to its ERA, performance was devastating. It out-accelerated larger bikes, out-handled smaller ones, and delivered a level of agility no competitor could touch. Every manufacturer was forced to rethink priorities. Engineering execution was surgical. Short wheelbase, centralized mass, lightweight wheels, and precise chassis geometry long before those became industry buzzwords. Reliability followed classic Honda form: smooth, durable engines with mile-eating longevity. At launch, the Fireblade cost roughly $8,000 to $9,000 US, undercutting larger rivals while outperforming them. Today, values reflect its legacy. Clean early bikes sell for $6,000 to $10,000, while well-kept originals reach $10,000 to $15,000 plus. The Fireblade didn't just influence superbikes, it created the modern superbike formula. That's why it stands alone at number 1. And if this video made you rethink what greatest of all time really means, or saved you from buying the wrong legend, don't stop here. Click the next video to continue this road trip through the machines that shaped motorcycling history. Join this tribe by subscribing, because we don't just list motorcycles here, we dissect what made them succeed or fail.